fix my coffee. I had it set up, but I don't think I let them in yet. Yeah, I'm the only one on here right now. I don't want to be recording right now. All right, I think we can begin. Good morning. My name is Delvin Stern, co-founder of Equatorial Coffee Consultants. This is another coffee conversation with a dear friend of ours, Francois, Tuyishime, Yego and Impexcor Coffee out of Rwanda. So good morning, sir. How are you? How you doing, Francois?
Hey, how are you, man?
I'm good. I'm doing good, brother. Good to see you once again. I think we wanted to begin the conversation and just introducing yourself a little bit, talk a little bit about who you are and your coffee journey, and what it is you do. So if we can begin with that, if you can give the people just a little bit about your history of who you are and what you do, that'll be great.
Thank you, Delvin. And thank you everyone who showed up today. My name is Francois Tuyishime. I do coffee import from Rwanda, which happens to be my country of origin. I am based here in Boston area, Massachusetts. And I came here in 2015. But yeah, I'm originally from Rwanda. I was born and raised in coffee farms. I worked more than 5 years in coffee washing station of Impexcor Coffee, which happens to be a family company where my dad and my grandfather started a long time ago. They started back in 70s. So, but they started as farmers and then eventually became a successful coffee organization. Yeah, we work with farmers in so many ways, in technical support, financial support, and social economic area. So I started as a coffee washing station manager where I worked with farmers, and it was a very good time, man. And I enjoyed it. You cannot imagine how to work with farmers on daily basis and working with people in the washing station, mostly young people and old people, men and women. And yeah, in 2015, I came here in the States to attend school at Brandeis University here in Waltham, Massachusetts.
Mhm.
And in 2017, I graduated. So while I was here at school, I I saw how people here in America enjoy coffee, and I was like, man, drinking coffee is enjoyable as it is enjoyable farming and working in coffee. I was like, I have to do something to give back to my community on both end, one end in farmer level and another end here in the state on a consumer level, like the final end of coffee. So I something came in my mind after seeing how the price is coffee, the price of the coffee on a cup level, the price of the coffee on farmer level. There's a big gap. I was like, how is this big gap exist? Because I know how where you can find where you buy 5 kilograms of coffee cherries, it you process it, it dropped on parchment level, you get like 4 kilo. In 5 kilo, you get 1 kilogram. On roasted level, I did a lot of research and I did trainings on coffee cupping, Q grades, roasting, just to know the chemistry of the coffee bean. So I came up with an idea of starting a coffee company here in Massachusetts. I registered it in 2018. It took time to have a kickstart. I did it this year, basically before the pandemic. Yeah, and I imported just 20 bags to see how it goes, and it went well. And I was like, okay, let me bring another quantity, and I brought a half container, which is basically a container of 20 feet.
Right.
Oh,
Now,
and
oh,
of 5 lots,
mhm.
micro lots, very good specialty coffee, just to see how I can have an impact on both ends. That's my main goal.
Right.
To get the coffee on the roasters and the consumers on a reasonable price, and to buy the coffee on the farmers on a reasonable price. So that's why I started with just 4 washing stations in different areas of Rwanda. And my goal is to set it to small and medium roasters. If I get a chance, big roasters, that could be a good impact too. And in different areas of this country, this country is very diverse, of
Right.
course. So that's basically my story in coffee, from farmer level to the consumer level. Yeah, you can go ahead and ask me any question you have.
Yeah. You mentioned something, and I want to touch on it just a little bit. So, in working in your early years, when you were working with the farmers in Rwanda, could you talk about? You were talking about the joys of working with the farmers and how you enjoyed that experience and that time. Could you talk a little bit about the life of the farmer, the Rwandan farmer, coffee farmer, and why it was so enjoyable for you to work with those young people on the farm level, and just give a little insight about how that daily life is for those farmers down there. Could you speak a little bit to that?
Yes. So to talk about that, it will take me to go through the whole process of coffee, basically in Rwanda. Rwanda is a country. I cannot a small country. A country is a country, no matter how big it is. But
Right.
size-wise, it's not a big country. It's the same size with Massachusetts or Maryland. So the only option to compete on international market of coffee is to make a very, very good coffee of a high quality.
Right.
So that we ask you to go through a very, very rigorous process of coffee from seeding, from seed to harvesting.
Right.
So that make you go with coffee bean every minute of your daily tasks. So that will ask you to work with farmers, transport, people on the washing station. So you will end up having like almost 24 hours working schedule.
Right.
So that makes you to interact with farmers and everyone in the coffee industry. So me personally, I when I was working at the washing station, it was required to work almost 24 hours with farmers and people from washing stations. So with doing that, you get to know how people do their work passionately, with passion, man. And people never get tired of that, no matter how challenging it is. Mostly during the harvesting period from February through May, it's a heavy raining period. So you get to see how people do their job with passion, and so that make you to see how people do it like organically. You know,
Right.
man,
Right.
people enjoy their job. Of course, they're making money out of that, but there are so many crops they can do apart from coffee. So that's how you get to enjoy working with people. You never get tired, even if it's very challenging with a lot of obstacles, but you get to enjoy it as as I did.
Right.
So basically, that's how I get to enjoy and love the people in coffee industry in Rwanda. And most of them are women and men, mostly female, young women in coffee industry because they are mostly involved in coffee sorting and coffee in the drying process, in farming process, in so many ways of coffee process.
Now,
So yeah.
when you say about mostly women, and that made me
Mhm.
think about something, does that have a lot to do with the genocide that happened a few decades ago? That is more women than men?
Definitely. You
Okay.
know, when you, yeah, when you, a country like Rwanda that passed through a very hard time of genocide against Tutsi in 1994, the the only way is not the only way, but one of the big way to to bring people together is through working together in so many ways through agriculture,
Mhm.
education, in so many industries, in transport. So, but agriculture, more than 80% of Rwandans are farmers, and mostly coffee farmers.
Oh,
So, coffee helped the community to come back together after genocide
nice.
through so many initiatives that Impexcor was part of, as namely grouping people in cooperatives of farmers. Um, those cooperatives they did a lot of work because you bring people together and they make money through coffee, and they get to interact, and then they end up talking about their differences, what happened, the truth telling initiatives. So they happened in coffee in so many ways, not just in Pexco, in so many other companies and cooperatives in Rwanda. You can tell so many that did that. Most of coffee companies in Rwanda, they did a very good job in bringing people together. I may say coffee industry in Rwanda did a very good job in unity and reconciliation of Rwanda after genocide. Like in Impexcor, we have some different cooperatives that are based on that story of aftermath of genocide. And from we are based in all districts of Rwanda. We have more than 20 washing stations.
Oh, nice.
So you can imagine how we can make a positive impact
Yeah,
on Rwandan community. Yeah.
for
So
sure. Sure.
and go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So and me personally, my family. Yeah, it was the only way to 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 bring back to our to our to come back to our uh, feet. It
Mhm.
was only coffee because before genocide we were coffee farmers, and genocide happened. It took all of our belongings. And the only way my father could come back on his foot, it was only through coffee, and it was the only way that he could use to bring back our family, our society, and our people in general.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah,
You also mentioned that your family had the 20 washing stations. So I think
yes.
that's a good segue to talk about the five washing stations the four washing stations that you selected to bring over into the US for the couple of the 5 lots that you decided to bring over. So can we talk a little bit about the 4 washing stations that you selected in terms of importing over here and the different washed and natural coffees that we currently have here in the US, and talk a little bit about those and the cupping notes of those coffees or whatever. But if you could talk a little bit about those washing stations, that'd be great.
Yeah, so those washing stations, they're 4 washing stations, but with 5 lots. I have 1 washing station that has 2 lots. So the first one is Busanze. Busanze is located in southern province of Rwanda, but towards west, which is basically southwest. Is located in high mountains of Nyaruguru district, which is ranges around 1800 meters to 2000 meters above the sea.
Mhm.
And that's the first washing station. The other one is Kiyumba, is located in central region in Muhanga district, but towards north. Is also, they're all in high mountains. And those 2 washing stations, Busanza and Kiyumba, when we capped this coffee before we exported, it was capping 87 points. The score was 87 points. So yeah, you can cap it on your end and see how it cap. So the other 2 are Gatari washing stations and Butambamo Coffee. They are in Western Province. The one in Nyamasheke and the other one in Rusizi district. So those 2 washing stations, yeah, they are okay. Yeah, they are also right by the edge of Kivu Lake and on the other side of Nyungwe Forest. And it's mostly mountainous, and mostly their coffee, they are grown under the shades of other trees and banana trees. So it gives it their body is highly dense. So, and on Gatari washing station, I brought fully washed and natural process. And yeah, people will love this natural process. Was one of the best. I capped it last
Up
week.
there last night as well, man. It was very good.
Oh, you did last night? Yeah, sure, yeah.
The natural from Qatar was very good, and the Buzanze from the washed from Buzanze was very good too.
Yeah.
And those were the only 2 I got a chance to cup last night, so I'll definitely do more. But those 2 cupped extremely well last night. So
Yeah. So, and another thing I can say with this all coffee that I have here, I did a research before doing this. I worked a little bit in one roasting a company here in Massachusetts. Most of people struggle with those big bags of 60 kilograms. And this year I managed to bring all my coffee in 30-kilogram bags, so that even me personally can lift it and put it on my
right.
and walk away. So, and yeah, but with washed coffee, I have a couple bags of 60 kilograms. But yeah, you can manage. It's like 20 bucks, but others are all in 30 kilograms. So yeah, all this coffee, they mostly cap almost the same. The other 2 washing station was capping 85 and another one 85.5.
Okay.
And the other 2 ones, Busanza and Kiyumba, 87. So yeah, you will see when you cap the other one, you will see how it's better than the other one. You will mostly be confused.
Right. Yeah, and that's I can't wait to do it, man. I think what's exciting about it is that the mystique of Rwandan coffee. Every African coffee is a little different, and they have their own attributes to coffee, depending upon different countries. And so, with that, could you talk a little bit about the mystique or the profiles of what Rwandan coffee gets, or the why you feel like Rwandan coffee is so popular, and what do people enjoy from Rwandan coffees? So what is that characteristic that's known for Rwandan coffee, as well as with you being dabbling and actually roasting as well, you can kind of also talk about your suggestions on how you feel like that Rwandan coffee should be roasted in terms of light or medium or dark or whatever. So if you could talk about the characteristics and the historical characteristics of Rwandan coffee and kind of like your roasting suggestions as well.
Okay. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, in Rwanda, the only option we have to compete on international market is only the quality of our coffee. Mm-hmm. So with this coffee takes time to get it exported. It passed through very, very rigorous sorting mostly. Mm-hmm. You will see any defect on this coffee because they sort it by hands. Like every bean that you can imagine, the whole container sorted by every bean is sorted. So, and the process of fermentation and other process, the washing process, is deeply done with very, very well. So, but in terms of chemical and technical terms, every coffee has a caffeine, and all the green coffee, almost looks the same. But with Rwandan coffee, when you cap it, the only thing you will see that beats or any other coffee you can imagine is the balance that the Rwandan coffee has. Okay. The balance is mostly this coffee that I have. The balance is dope, and the sweetness all the way to the finish, you will still feel it on your tongue. Right. I can say all the notes that you can get, but notes can be different from this person to another, the other one to the other. People can say the flavors, caramel, fruity, whatever. But those are two things you will see: the balance of this coffee and the body of this coffee you get from the first cupping process, smelling and cupping, testing. The balance almost to the all the way to the end is unique. So I have a friend of mine here who does Colombian coffee. We did a blend of it with Rwandan coffee. He tried 70% of his Supremo, and I gave him my fully washed coffee first, and then natural coffee. Oh man, it came up with a very good blend. Mm-hmm. But apart from blending, when you want to use it just as Rwandan coffee, I would recommend, most of roasters and coffee people, they have their own preferences. But so far, when I roast it, I mostly roast it on the light, like on the first crack, in the middle of first and second crack. Even if I go dark, I don't go dark, very, very dark. But mostly, I never go beyond medium dark. Okay. But me is my preference, as I always want to feel my coffee without burning it. But there are so many people who love Italian way, or
right, the like dark, very dark, especially right.
Mm-hmm. But still, you still have that good body of the coffee. Mm-hmm. When it comes to Rwandan coffee. Right. Yeah, most of people use it with espresso for their house coffee. It depends on the preference of each roaster, each coffee shop. But in general, Rwandan coffee is good at any kind of roast you can use. But the coffee I use, it depends on the roaster you use. Like me personally, I use the electrical one, which helped me to keep the form of the coffee when you go on the espresso or any type of the coffee you can get. So that depends on the preference of the roaster, but me personally, I don't go that very dark.
Right.
Yeah,
that's good to know. I'm glad you kind of went over that to talk about that. I also wanted to ask you, I know you mentioned a little earlier when you were talking about your journey and your mission. So can we talk a little bit about the sustainability of what you're trying to accomplish with the farmers and making coffee sustainable in Rwanda? Because you kind of touched on that there are several crops in Rwanda that the Rwandan farmer could cultivate and choose to farm. And you are trying to make sure you're making the coffee sustainable for the farmer. So can you talk about that in terms of from the farmer's perspective, what encourages them, and you and on your mission, you want to encourage them to continue to farm coffee. So can you talk a little bit about the sustainability of coffee and what will encourage them to continue to plant and cultivate coffee in Rwanda, and how you're adding value to that by importing coffee here in the US?
Okay, yeah. When it comes to the sustainability of the coffee, there are two things. I may say three things. The first thing is environmental things. Environmental, it's a kind of global thing or on a national level. But the other two things, the first thing is to keep up with farmers all year long. Before, people used to go and work with farmers during the harvest, but these days you have to keep up with your farmers, giving them new trees, support them in technical support in so many ways in farming, new techniques of farming, new varieties. But in Rwanda, we use mostly the red bourbon, the Arabica of Arabica. You keep up with them all year long, and you help them in their daily lives, in their socio-economic issues. Like we have two ongoing initiatives that I'm going through in Busanza washing station. I may come on that later. But apart from those technical things, there is one last important thing that has to be there no matter how, no matter what: the price of the coffee. We have, like, if I say we, all of the coffee practitioners, from washing station all the way to the coffee drinker, like a last consumer, we have to come up with a strong way to keep up with the price of the coffee on a farmer level. A farmer has to get a reasonable price of the coffee. Otherwise, people go farming other crops.
Right.
There are so many crops to do and to farm. So if we don't keep up with that, there will be no coffee in years to come. Right. There are so many other competitive crops like rice, potato, tea,
right,
and so many and so. So the price has to make sense, because you will see a coffee costing $4 in the cup, and a coffee costing $0.2 on a farmer level. So you will see there is a very huge difference.
Right.
So, and that was my main concern when I decided to start this coffee journey, especially this importing coffee, because you go and you do your research and you see how the coffee costs on the farmer level after the dry mill, and when you export the coffee or import the coffee, and you see the transport, and you see all logistics,
Right.
and suddenly the coffee goes up and it costs $4 in the cup.
Right.
So of course there are so many things that happens in the middle of that, but still it doesn't make sense how the coffee price goes down when the coffee price on a cup level is going higher and higher and higher.
Right.
On a farmer level, it goes down and down every year.
Right.
You know, the progress is not. It doesn't make sense in price wise on those two ends, the end of the farm end and the consumer end. So I'm still thinking about that, but I'm sure we come up with something.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for us as the ECC, we want to work diligently into making sure that the farm, that the pricing at the farm level, they get a fair amount of pricing so that it could be sustainable, and they can, like you said, they can continue and be encouraged to plant and farm and cultivate coffee year round instead of choosing other crops, for economic purposes. So yeah, it's important for us to do what we can on our end, and we definitely commend of what you're doing in terms of especially being so hands-on with the farmers in Rwanda and with your family doing such a good job of helping these farmers to continue to make the coffee industry sustainable in Rwanda, and importing it to the US and also, the UK as well and worldwide, to make sure that we give those farmers the fair pricing so they can have the encouragement to continue to do that. I think that also leads into pretty much our last topic in terms of the social impact projects that you and your family participate in Rwanda. Can you talk a little bit about the social impact projects that you guys are currently involved in? I know we talked about it a little bit before the conversation, but could you just let the audience know about what you guys do outside of helping the farmers on a social level, what you do for the communities as well?
So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So we have so many initiatives going on, but me personally with my Yego Coffee, I'm working in Busanze area on education on education industry, like on the education of young kids in high school and primary school. So I try to go through many sectors of life, but my main objective when it comes to the sustainability of everything, the key of every country should be education. So I was thinking, what can I do for education and helping my country in general, not just coffee or where I have interest. I thought about education because what I have now or what I have achieved is because of the education I have. So I thought about what I can help. So in Rwanda we have like almost everything settled in education, as we have kids are attending school easily. You know, the government constructed so many schools all around the country, but still there are some challenges that keep students to drop out of school no matter what we have in place. So the first thing is some families that struggles to have the food on table
Mm.
to help their kids during the lunchtime, because they have to have their lunch provided at school, so they have to participate. So I thought about it and see what I can do, and now I'm providing the meal of 10 students in Busanze, and I will go. I progress as I grow in my company, and I'm welcoming everyone who can help on that to join. But next year I will go maybe 20, the other year 50, the other year 100. So, and yeah, that's the first initiative I'm now working on with this academic year.
Nice.
And the second one is to help the young girls who struggle with their sanitary things. So I used to do it personally, but it took me time to bring it publicly. But I help them. When I grow up, some kids used to bully young girls who that happened there to have their period at school. So it was very uncomfortable for me. So I decided to help them out, and I decided to help 15 students in the same high school, to help them to get the sanitary pads every month or year long. So this year I'm helping them at 15, which is it's not a big budget, but it's a big help to them. And next year I will help more than that. And yeah, as long as I progress. So yeah, those are two things. I don't have that ability to build a school or to help thousands of people, but with that little number of people, it's a big help. Even if it can be one person, it's a big impact. So next year, the other year, in 5 years, it's gonna be a huge impact on my societies, and then maybe go to another region. Now is just in Busanze,
Right.
and maybe next year I may go to Kiyumba or to Gatari or Butamba or any other area. So those are my my initiatives that I have, to make a small impact on our neighbors from where our washing stations are. But Impexcor in general has so many initiatives that I, if I started talking about it, it can take days,
Right.
because they do a lot of work in providing water in communities, bringing new schools in the area. It's a big company, so they do a lot of things. But me personally, with Yego Coffee, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
basically.
awesome.
Yeah, you
and
can.
and I think we will help to do whatever we can to help you with those initiatives and continue to grow those initiatives as well. This portion of the conversation, I think we'll get into. If anyone who's listening has any questions, feel free to put them into the chat, and we can ask Francois the questions really quickly. If you have any, I should have mentioned that earlier, so I do apologize. But if you have any questions, we can go ahead and try to answer those now. So we'll wait a little bit to see if anyone has any questions. But yeah, I think in terms of that, I think if those questions come up, I think the last thing that I kind of wanted to talk about again is, so in your opinion, what is your favorite region from Rwanda in terms of coffee? Let's talk a little bit personally for you. What is your favorite region, and how do you like it? How do you like your Rwandan coffee served? Like, do you prefer it in an espresso? Do you like? I know you kind of mentioned that you like it light to medium, maybe medium to dark. But if you could just talk about what's your favorite region in Rwanda, the coffee, the favorite region, and how you personally prefer the coffee.
So with the region, it's gonna be very hard, because we started doing coffee. We started our washing station. The first one was in Nyakabuye, which is southwestern area, right by the Burundian border and Congolese border. People over there, they love coffee. They love coffee, and progressively we expanded our areas of operations. Now we are in the eastern province, which happened to have a very enthusiastic people when it comes to coffee. And their coffee, most of people don't like it because uh, their area is not that very high mountainous. But their coffee is very good because of how they treat their coffee. They treat their coffee very well, and their processing process is very good. They wash their coffee at the maximum level, and they they farm their coffee under the uh, uh, banana trees farms. So their coffee is, and their most of their coffee are very new, very brand new crops. So, and in the western coast is the hot spot of coffee basically. But eastern coffee people now are loving coffee very enthusiastically. But when it comes to my favorite, it's very hard.
Right.
It's very hard because in I worked in Southwest in Rusizi district, but in 2014, I happened to go around all the country trying to build new washing stations, do researches on the regions in that, like in Kiyumba and Busanze. We started there in around 2017, 18. So, and most of Rwandan people are very nice when it comes to relationships and the way people interact with each other. But my favorite now, not to be biased, I'm from Rusizi district, so
That's your favorite,
uh,
right?
yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
but when it comes to coffee, uh, the brewing coffee process, the espresso or the the pour over or the I just love the house coffee, just the regular
right. Just
black coffee,
normal
yeah,
brewing, right?
normal the normal brew.
Yeah,
But
well,
yeah,
I think we didn't have too many questions. I think I answered one question throughout the conversation that I saw through the chat from Stephen in terms of the mystique and how coffee is viewed in Rwanda from the consumer level. Um, so, once again, I want to thank you, my brother, for taking the time to speak with us and give us a little insight on Rwandan coffee and how people could be able to purchase it. For those listening, we do have samples available. So if you are interested, please visit our Instagram and feel free to shoot us a DM if you're interested in those samples, or feel free to email us and we'll be able to get those samples out to you. We're working hard to help Francois spread this extraordinary coffee throughout America. So yeah, thank you once again for taking the time to speak with us, and we'll revisit. We'll be sure to revisit with you like we do all our coffee partners, just to come back and talk about the success we're having. After a month or so, we'll come back and talk again, speak again, but we definitely appreciate your insight and the time you've taken to talk to us. And yeah, if there's any last words or anything you want to mention, feel free to do so. Uh, and then we can kind of close out from there.
thank you, man.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And so thank you guys for joining. And until the next time, we'll see you soon. Peace.
All right, man.